LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I
filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though. I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Whether your business has 6 floors or 6 employees, Walmart Business has everything you need to save time, money, and hassle. You can restock your break room with bulk ordering or bulk up your ordering team with shared payments. And you can get it all delivered straight to your business's door, whether that's on Wall Street or Main Street. Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love, now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com.
Dripping in gold? That's cool. Dripping in Velveeta's supremely creamy golden cheesiness? That's respect. Elevate your drip with Velveeta's range of outrageously delicious dips and dishes. Shells, cheese, melty blocks, and heat and eat queso that go all in on indulgence. Flex on your fam with a creamy, cheesy masterpiece and go all in on what you love with Velveeta. Respect the drip and satisfy your cravings. Bring home the drip with Velveeta.
In 1954, director Alfred Hitchcock and star Jimmy Stewart gave the world a peeping glance into the seedy world of backyard voyeurism.
In 2026, much like the dog in this movie, we go digging in the flower beds.
The film is Rear Window.
The whiskey is Four Roses Yellow Label.
I just got it. It's funny because the dog dies.
He dies, bro.
This is the Film and Whiskey Podcast.
Welcome to the Film and Whiskey Podcast, where each week we review a classic movie and a glass of whiskey. I'm Bob Book.
I'm Brad G.
And Brad, we are rounding out season 10 today. Well, not really. We've got a couple bonus episodes coming up here, or listener specials, I guess we're calling them. But of the season 1 movies that are left to review, we have whittled it down to 1. This is it, man. It's Rear Window time, baby. And yeah, Bob, I could not be happier.
What a great film. Like, this is pure, dare I say it, cinema.
It truly is, man. You know, I was thinking about this, and you and I were kind of talking about what kind of scores did we give this the first time around. I think I gave it a 9 or a 9.5. And this is, first of all, let's just put this out there, Brad. I don't think we need to beat around the bush. This is a 10 out of 10 film. Like, it's just a perfectly made movie.
Yeah, coming back to it after having watched hundreds and hundreds of films makes me appreciate it all the more. Mm-hmm. Which makes me flabbergasted that you would ever give it anything under a 10, Bob. Well, I didn't. You already had the experience.
Hold on a minute. I'm looking at our scores right now. I don't think I gave it under a 10. I think you might have.
I think I want to throw you under the bus.
Brad, we both gave it a 9.5, and we were both wrong.
That's a good score.
It's a good score, but
it's not the right score.
It's far too low for this movie. The thing is, though, and I didn't know if we should save this discussion for after the break, but I think let's just get it out of the way now. In season 1, we watched this and we watched Vertigo. Those were our 2 Hitchcock movies. We both loved Vertigo, and I was shocked then, and I'm still shocked now that Vertigo is as effective as it is on you. I thought, if anything, you would think that movie was too slow. And I think a lot of people prefer Rear Window because it is just kind of this pure adrenaline shot of a movie. There's not really any fluff. I think you can dig deep on it if you really want to, but there is a surface level reading of this movie that is just fine. Like, if that's all you ever want to do is be entertained by a movie, this is the movie for you. And Brad, we're talking before we pressed record about how do we parse out the differences between Vertigo and Rear Window. And I, being a guy who likes to eat food, decided that the way I would make the analogy is Vertigo is like, it's like a really good steak. It's like a dry aged piece of meat that you have to really like just ruminate on as you're chewing it. You're getting all these complex flavors. It's something that sticks with you after you eat it, but it's nuanced. Rear Window is like a really, really great burger. Like, it is just, it fills you up and it hits every single receptor in your brain that's like, fuck yes, food is great. And that's kind of all you need sometimes, man. And that's really what this movie is.
Yeah, Bob, I think that is literally a perfect analogy of what we have going on here. Like, not even necessarily like a fancy burger. Like, this isn't like a 10 out of 10 Swenson's burger. It's better than that. But it's not like some bougie, like, you know, crazy highfalutin burger. Mm-hmm. This is just the best down-to-earth
dive bar
burger that yes,
but like
yes,
the good
absolutely.
Like half-pound melty American cheese. Oh man, I'm getting hungry now. All right,
yeah, forget this, dude. Let's put pause on this.
Let's go eat a burger.
Let's go eat a burger, man.
So I also don't want to give the impression that this isn't, you know, to use your word, Brad, cinema, because in a lot of ways this is probably the purest. Like, if Alfred Hitchcock films were black tar heroin, like this would be the purest Walter White meth version of Alfred Hitchcock. It's just like, you don't even realize that you're watching a master at work because it is such an engrossing exercise in suspense. But there are so many wonders in this movie, and the camera is like floating in and out of windows and across different panes. And like, it is, I can't even imagine what the storyboarding process for this movie must have looked like. But every single shot is so meticulously thought out, and they never call attention to themselves. Like, the filmmaking here is a minor miracle unto itself.
The beautiful thing about this film is that I have to imagine it was conceived like at a dive bar somewhere. Hitchcock is with his friends, and one of his buddies is like, "Hey, Alf, I'll bet you can't shoot an entire movie out of one room." And Alfred immediately went home and was like, "I'm doing it. I am going to shoot this entire movie with every single camera shot being from one room, and it's going to be a masterpiece." And he nailed it.
Well, the first thing he said was, "Oh, I'm sorry, did you not catch rope?" And then the guy was like, "I didn't like rope. Try again." And he said, "I will." And that guy was Brad G.
Yeah, that probably would be me, Bob.
All right, man, let's dive into talking about this movie a little bit in earnest. And I think in order to do that, we need to get to our first segment of the day, which we call Brad Explains.
Brad's gonna give us the movie plot with only 60 seconds ticking on the clock. So let's go ahead and hear your take with this little segment that we call
Brad Explains. Is the part of the
Explains.
podcast where Brad breaks down the plot of the film that he has just seen. Brad, did you get around to watching this movie at all in between season 1 and season 10?
You know, that is getting far enough in the distant past now that I don't think I did.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I loved it, and I know I talked about it a lot with friends. I don't think I ever got around to seeing it again until this rewatch.
It's one of those movies that every single time I watch it, I'm like, I need to introduce somebody to this movie, because it's just, there's only a handful of movies. There's like this and 12 Angry Men, Casablanca, that I'm just like, everyone I know would like this movie if they just sat down and watched it. I don't know a soul on earth who would be checked out during this movie.
Is that like your litmus test when you meet new people? Like if you can tell that they wouldn't like Casablanca, you're like, well, it was nice meeting you.
You don't seem worth knowing. Yeah, exactly. All right, Brad, on that note, you've got around to watching it again. I think we should give the disclaimer to folks that we were planning on recording this episode, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, Brad. It's been a minute since we rewatched this. And in order to refresh ourselves, we did something that we've never done before. We went to YouTube and we watched one of those I'm reacting to a movie I'm watching for the first time videos. And it was actually a really great experience because you get to see small clips of the big moments in the movie and people having their reactions to them. But everything's laid out in sequential order. So you really are getting a quick refresher of the movie. And it really helped put me back in my own headspace that I was experiencing as I watched the movie. So thank you, random guys on YouTube, for giving me that experience. I don't know, Brad, was it helpful for you to do that?
Yeah, it was very helpful. I think it was also just fun to watch somebody experience it for the first time and hear like the guessing, especially with a Hitchcock film, that like to hear them kind of working through what's happening was really entertaining.
All right, you have 60 seconds on the clock to break down the plot of this movie, including spoilers. Folks, I don't know if I can give a stronger recommendation. If you have not seen this film, for the love of God, please go watch this movie. You will like it. Like, I can almost guarantee it.
Yes.
Come back and listen to this when you're done. But Brad, it's time for you to do Brad Explains, and go.
Rear Window is a film about a photographer whose leg is broken. He is put up in his wheelchair, unable to leave the apartment, and he takes to voyeurism as a pastime. He is creeping on all of his neighbors and eventually stumbles upon late at night what he imagines to be a murder of a husband killing his nagging wife. If you had any doubts about Hitchcock's view on marriage, you I don't think you lose it after this. He and his girlfriend, fiance, Grace Kelly, kind of go on a mystery murder adventure hunt with his live-in nurse, and adventure and mischief and mystery ensue.
That was good. That was more like a teaser for the movie.
Thanks, man.
We're not going to give the whole thing away here, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, we are, but just not in Brad Explains.
Yeah, we sure will. I think the key thing for me about this movie is that I don't know if I have ever experienced a better job of a director getting you to fall in love with characters without ever letting half of the characters really like say a line. Like it's a masterclass in body language and camera positioning, and as you said earlier, Bob, the oneers that kind of allow you to feel like you're lazily glancing about the apartment neighborhood. I mean, it just has the most lived-in feel of, I think, any of his movies.
You know, and this movie had a sizable budget because we're dealing with Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly. You know, it was super expensive to build this set on a soundstage with basically functional buildings inside of it. And what I really love is, you know, like you said, Brad, you're getting a view of the courtyard area that like 3 or 4 adjacent buildings in New York City are forming. And through this tiny little crack between 2 of the buildings, you get a view out to the main street as well. And so it gives the impression of a really bustling neighborhood, but you're really only filling a few strategic areas on the screen with movement, with people, and those are the windows that Jimmy Stewart's able to look into. And man, I like I said, I don't think it has a low budget, but if this movie were to be a low budget film, I think, you know, if you're instructing up and coming indie movie directors, hey, you only have a limited budget, really all you have at your disposal are the tools of movie making. I don't know that you could show a better movie to exemplify that than this. Even like a 12 Angry Men, there's like 300 camera setups in that movie. Whereas this one is like, you have to use your editing. There's really no music in the movie except for some diegetic music playing out of an apartment across the way. You have really good actors, but like you are filling strategic spaces at certain times in shots to give depth, to give impressions of, like I said, a bustling neighborhood. Every now and then he'll have extras walking past. And so it's like, oh man, there's people walking throughout this neighborhood. If you look at some of the conversations they have like over the shoulder shots of Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly talking in the apartment. And then way off in the background, you can see like one of the people in the window of their apartment. And it makes you think, oh my gosh, these shots must have been so highly coordinated. And some of them are, but sometimes Hitchcock's like, hey lady, just go stand in that window. And it makes this film feel even more, I don't want to say micromanaged, but like even more accomplished. It's almost like he's pulling from his bag of tricks to make the movie seem even bigger than it really is. And it's just such a masterful job, man.
Well, and as I was doing research for my 2 Facts and a Falsehood, he literally spent the entire movie in Jimmy Stewart's apartment and just had radio pieces in everybody's ears and would just like give instructions across the courtyard to all of his actors as they were going. So like when you say he would just literally tell people, hey, go stand over here. Like that's what he was doing. And I have to imagine that, as you said earlier, the storyboarding for this had to be so precise so that he was able to give radio instructions and they would have already rehearsed it enough and known what he was asking for that they can hit those marks without him being in the room.
Yeah. 100%, man. And if you've ever seen pictures of like what old movie cameras looked like when they had reels of film attached to them and they would basically have a chair bolted to this rig, they weighed hundreds of pounds. A guy had to push the camera back and forth. It wasn't like they strapped something to a drone and were just flying it across this courtyard. And it makes it all the more mind-blowing to think about the gracefulness of the camera floating around this apartment. Like I imagine there was so much track laid down in this apartment, but even to kind of like come from outside the window to back inside, they had to be pulling out false walls and stuff like that. I would love to have been on set for this for a day to see how they were accomplishing some of these shots.
You had lots of great points there, Bob. As soon as you said a drone flying across the courtyard, all I could think about was a Michael Bay remake of Rear Window.
And it ends with every building exploding.
And Grace Kelly and Jimmy Stewart just making out in the middle as all the buildings fall around them.
She's wearing like Daisy Dukes. Yeah, 100%, man.
What a brilliant film.
So, Brad, there are 2 big themes to this movie, and I'm going to save the more positive and uplifting one for the second half of the episode because I know where you're going to go with this movie, and you do such a good job of talking about this every time a movie about community and the need for community comes up.
Come on, baby.
So I'll let you do that later on. You can redeem this episode. I want to talk about the dirty old men of this film because that is the other theme of this movie, is that there's some real perverts hanging out in the world, folks, and Jimmy Stewart is one of them.
Yes, he really is. Bob, I'll be honest with you. As I was watching this film and as I was revisiting it, I thought to myself at multiple points throughout the movie, I was like, man, the men in this movie suck. Like, they're the worst. And then I thought about it and I'm like, but also, the women all kind of suck too.
Yeah, so this is what I wanted to...
And I'm not saying that women suck. I'm saying that Hitchcock has a very specific view of monogamous relationships.
Yeah, but I think it goes deeper than that. And this is something that, like, when critics talk about this movie, they always psychoanalyze the filmmaker. And this is a movie all about the voyeurism of moviegoing. It's about how Roger Ebert had an incredible review of this movie, and I had the quote pulled up and I just X'd out of it. But he talks about how at the end of the movie, when Raymond Burr comes into the apartment to confront Jimmy Stewart, we are terrified because we're right there with Jimmy Stewart. We're complicit with him, and we know deep down that we deserve to be punished just the same way he does. And what really struck me this time around, Brad, is I think obviously Jimmy Stewart is a conduit or like a surrogate for Alfred Hitchcock, right? Like Alfred Hitchcock, notoriously a very dirty old man. And I think that he's interrogating himself in this movie, but he's also kind of like, say it proud, I'm perverted, or say it loud, I'm perverted and proud. Like that's because...
Did you just come up with that, Bob?
I did not. No.
That was pretty impressive.
Thank you. I am part of a club the perverts of America. Yeah. There's a scene in this movie where I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. And we've talked about this every time we've revisited a Hitchcock movie. Like the psychosexual implications. Hitchcock's just a dirty old pervert, man, and he gets his jollies by implicating the audience in also being dirty with him. And in this movie, it's very apparent because Jimmy Stewart, for the first 45 minutes of the movie, is like, I have this girlfriend. She's beautiful. She's Grace Kelly. She's too perfect, and I don't like that about her. And what we know about Jimmy Stewart is he lives for the thrill. Like he has a perversion, whether it's sexual or not. Like,
to be clear, not Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart's character.
Oh no. I'm coming at you, Jimmy Stewart. Like, his character in this movie is a photographer, but he is like he works for like Life magazine or something, but he's the action photographer. He got injured because he was standing in the middle of a racetrack as these cars were racing and he broke his leg. He lives for that kind of action and adrenaline.
Quick question. How does he break his leg?
I mean,
because I'm imagining a car wreck happening around him, and I can't imagine a situation that doesn't end with him dying.
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. Is that really that's the question you came out of this movie with?
I'm very intrigued.
Anyway, the point I was making was, so of course he's going to start snooping on his neighbors, and he's going to get his rocks off doing that because he's living for the thrill of this perversion. And how does he express this perversion, Brad? How does he get his jollies? He gets his jollies by looking at people through the lens of his camera. Like, he is very clearly Alfred Hitchcock. And he is an absolute jerk to Grace Kelly for the first 40 minutes of this movie. And crucially, there's a moment where Grace Kelly goes, like, she's not really convinced, and then all of a sudden they look over and they see something happening, and she goes, tell me everything you know about this. And there's a fade out. And when it fades back in, she's already across the courtyard snooping for him. And all of a sudden, like, she comes back and she's real happy. And she's like, oh boy, that was so much fun. And he's like, oh, I love you. Like, it's gross. It's super gross, dude. Like, you could tell this guy has dirtied her up, and they are like rolling around in the filth right now.
All right, Bob. I'm gonna pull you back a little bit because I feel like you're walking very close to the edge of a cliff. I don't think that this film is as weird as you're making it out to be.
I'm not saying it's weird. I'm saying that, like, Hitchcock is very explicitly making a movie about perversion, and I don't necessarily know. Like, he is condemning it, but it's also a movie that's as much about participating in it as it is condemning it.
See, perversion even is a strong word. Like, I guess maybe I'm just putting myself into the world of the movie too much. If I was cooped up, a known non-pervert, Brad G, just putting it out there. If I was cooped up...
Hold on 1 second. What does it mean to be a known non-pervert?
That means that I'm a good guy.
I know, but I've never heard anybody express it. Like, Brad G, definitely not a pervert. Like, that's suspicious in itself, Brad.
So many people. Oh, man. All I'm trying to say is I don't think that his voyeurism is very perverted. I think it's a very obvious thing to do when you live in the 1950s and don't have a television in your apartment and live in New York City.
Yeah, and again, I'm saying, like, there is a surface level reading of this movie that works just fine. I also think that, like, Alfred Hitchcock is a dirty old man, and it is perfectly valid to read every single one of his movies as coming from the mind of a dirty old man.
Oh, see, man, Bob, if I'm being blunt, I think that the dirty old man take is the surface level take of the movie.
Oh, interesting.
To me, that's, like, so obvious and so talked about.
Sure,
that
sure.
Feels like the obvious, like, surface level take.
It's played out. Being dirty is played out.
Yeah, it's just so played out. I think that there's other things going on here that are more interesting to me. But, like, you're not wrong. Like, that is a take to have on this movie.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it's as strong as as you're making it out to be because of how lazy the camera work is. And not lazy in like it's not good, just like the way the camera lazily moves about the apartment complex in the early parts of the film indicate that he's not like...
There's not intent there.
Yeah, it's... And like the way he talks about, you know, Miss Lonely Heart, it's kind of like, yeah, I've just sat here for the last 5-6 weeks. There's nothing to do. And I've noticed she's Miss Lonely Heart and he's Mr. Piano Guy and there's Miss Torso who's dancing all the time. And then there's a newlywed couple that just moved in. And like, to me, all of that feels very innocent. The only place it gets weird is when he starts to wonder if there's a murder. And I think that the voyeurism would be condemned if at the end of the film there wasn't truly a murder.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like it does kind of justify being a creep in a way because like
because he catches a killer.
The one time that he's like, I think someone's dead, they're like, dude, you're creepy. And then it turns out he's vindicated completely.
Yeah, so if anything, this is Hitchcock's like defense. This
Spy on your neighbors,
like,
people. What
I
are we
was
doing
right
here?
all along.
Neighborhood watch is an important thing in every community. All right, I want to go back to something you were saying before the dirty old man talk, and it was the establishment of all these kind of secondary characters who you never see having lines of dialogue unless you can kind of hear it wafting across the courtyard. First of all, for a 1954 film, the sound design, incredible. Like, it's just years ahead of its time. But I love how Hitchcock not only gets us intimately familiar with every single secondary character in this courtyard, but then also so brilliantly uses them as like a distraction at points, like a diversion. There's a moment where this character, Miss Lonely Heart, is about to commit suicide. And it's at the exact same time that Grace Kelly is in the apartment of the killer. And so there's a suspenseful thing going on here, but there's something even more immediate than that suspense happening downstairs. And so we're gonna attract all of your attention to whether this poor woman is going to overdose on sleeping pills.
And then you just see Torvald?
Thorwald.
What's his name? Thorwald. You see Thorwald walking up, and all of a sudden you're like,
oh, back. You're like, oh my God.
Oh.
It catches you so off guard. And it's brilliant because it doesn't feel manipulative or deceptive in any way. It's totally earned because you do care about this other character, but it's it's almost like anti-suspense. Like, Hitchcock is so good at building suspense when you know what's going to happen, but he's also really good at the, for lack of a better term, the jump scare in this movie.
Well, he lulls you into a sense of ease where, like, the early camera shots where I said he was, it's a lazy camera shot, just kind of Jimmy Stewart's eye just kind of glancing across the courtyard. He continues to do that throughout the film, and this is a perfect example of it. It feels so natural for Jimmy Stewart to be like watching Grace Kelly, like she's doing, what's going on with Miss Lonely Heart down here? And for the camera just to kind of gently pan downward and focus on what's going on with her, and you're like, oh man, like, she is about to commit suicide, and I don't want that to happen. And how are we going to stop this from happening? And then boom, Thorwald is in the apartment and he's confronting Grace Kelly, and you're back in it. And you get lulled back into your seat just enough. And then after that, to talk about it feeling like real life, we still have the problem of Miss Lonely Heart wanting to commit suicide. Like, that didn't just go away because Grace Kelly got attacked.
Yeah, it's a question of immediacy, right? And I think what I love so much about this movie is that, man, I was watching it this time, and I know what's going to happen in this movie. And for it to work as well as it does still is a testament unto itself. But, like, I didn't realize that fade out and fade back in after he thinks that Thorwald has killed his wife is, like, at least 45 minutes into the movie. Like, it's a long buildup. It's a long period of, quote unquote, world building. And again, I've seen this movie like 10 times. And this time I was like, oh, this seems a little slow for my tastes. But the great thing is you get 45 minutes of buildup and then you get an hour of payoff. Every single scene after that whether it is like immediate payoff or just suspense building, you get the crucial point of, did he murder his wife? And then everything after that is the fallout of that, of him witnessing that thing. And you are on a roller coaster for the last hour plus of this movie.
Yeah, and that's why this movie's a 10 out of 10, is because he does this masterful job of like setting, he's like juggling like 8 different balls in the air, and then he knocks each of them like out of the park for a home run. And just every single little subplot of the movie resolves itself beautifully. It all comes to fruition in unexpected ways. Even like the cheesy one of Miss Torso, who, you know, if you haven't seen it, and you should have, because we told you to stop and watch it. If you haven't seen it, she's a dancer that lives across the way. She has a lot of like young, attractive men calling on her, trying to take her out on dates. At the end of the film, once the murder has been resolved, her husband, I would guess, fiance, comes home from military service and is like, I don't know, like Rick Moranis. Like, it's like just this perfect little sweet moment of like, oh man, she's really good after all. She's a great girl.
Brad, I think this is a great spot for us to hit pause and drink some Four Roses. So in addition to you not revisiting this movie, I have not revisited this whiskey. What do you say we give it a go?
Let's get to it.
All right, folks. So today we are checking out Four Roses, or as it's more colloquially known, Four Roses Yellow Label, which kind of pisses me off a little bit, Brad, because I'm assuming that the label was at one point much more yellow than it is now. It's definitely like a tan color. It's not yellow anymore. And I don't like that.
You've not seen pictures of the original label?
I mean, maybe at some point, I don't know. But the current label, definitely not yellow. I wouldn't call that yellow.
No, it is like creamy tan, khaki, maybe.
Khaki. Four Roses khaki label.
The old bottle was like originally designed in, I think, like 92 or 93, and it was a bright ass yellow label. So
that's what you want. You don't need cream colored. Anyway. So that's what we're drinking today. Now, this is the sort of most baseline entry level version of Four Roses. We have tried Four Roses small batch. We've tried, I believe, single barrel at one point. We've had small batch select. There are increasing kind of tiers and rarities to Four Roses releases, but this is the baseline one. This is an 80 proof bourbon. So just at the legal limit for how low of a proof it can be to still be called bourbon. It has an undisclosed mash bill. They do say that it is aged for at least 5 years, so this is more well-aged than most 80-proof bourbons you would find on the shelf. But this is your standard, like, you know, $25 bottle of bourbon. Now, we've just tried the Four Roses small batch just a few weeks ago, and it was pretty good. Like, I don't think either of us were wowed by it, but it was pretty good. What I'm piecing together, and this is an assumption, is that Four Roses really seems to want you to think that small batch is the entry-level version. And they don't even really advertise Yellow Label anymore. Because even in the state of Ohio, they don't sell like 50 ml versions of Yellow Label. They only sell it of small batch. So it's like, this is the bastard stepchild of the lineup, it seems now, Brad.
Yeah. Well, and just so if anybody's looking for it, it is officially called Four Roses Bourbon. And that's it. So they're very clearly not giving it any sort of marketing flair to be like, this is a small batch. This is a single. It's like, no, this is just Four Roses Bourbon. And over here, we have small batch.
Well, and the thing is, though, like, if you're going to hang the name of your bourbon on something, like, this is no different than like Jim Beam Bourbon or Jack Daniel's Tennessee Whiskey. Like, this is what Four Roses is supposed to be. And if you want small batch to be that, then you should make it that and just discontinue this. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. You might know already how I feel about this one. I just tried it today. Brad, I'm going to pretend to be drinking something, and I'll be honest about the fact that I had to go to a bar to get this because I wasn't going to buy a whole bottle. It was a $5.50 pour, which I think is very reasonable, but we will be kind of grading it on the price of the bottle itself. Brad, you also had to go to a bar to get a pour of this.
Sure did. It was, I think mine was like $4.95. It was a little bit cheaper, but yeah, $5.
We'll take it, man. Let's go ahead and dive in here. Now, I don't have the small batch in front of me to compare it directly to, but it's been recent enough that I know what Four Roses kind of tastes and smells like. And I will say that as we move into the nose here, this was right in line with what I remembered about that Four Roses small batch. There was a ton of oak right on the front. It kind of a standard vanilla note, but not overly sweet. I got a lot of rye spice and I got a lot of black pepper. This was a very spicy nose to me. And I think that this is kind of like what people think about who don't like bourbon, like what they think bourbon smells like. It doesn't smell bad, but it's like all of those kind of more spicy, less sweet, decadent notes of a bourbon, all of them in a glass at the same time. I don't know how you felt about it, Brad.
I thought it was a decent nose. I got the baking spice, especially like a black pepper, oak. The vanilla is there. For me, it had like a little bit of like a pear florally kind of notes going on, but like very effervescent and nothing really stuck around for very long. I gave it a 6.5 on the nose. I think it's decent. It's nothing to write home about.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it just fine for what it was. I gave it a 7.5, and that would prove to be the highest score I give throughout this review. So moving into the taste, immediately bitter, like a bitter taste to me. Mm-hmm. And at first it was like a very bitter apple. Like, I don't even know. It couldn't call it apple peel. It was bitter apple. And then it just turned into ash and barrel char. I did make note of the mouthfeel here. Incredibly thin, incredibly watery. And I think sometimes when you water down whiskey too much, it starts to bring out both the really sour and the really bitter notes in that whiskey. And this has just proven to be diluted down way too much. Like this should not be 80 proof. It did a disservice to whatever the distillate is. I gave it a 5.5 on taste, Brad.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me when you're used to drinking like even just like Brita water, and then you go to somebody's house and they're like, oh yeah, we just use the tap, and you get like city water and you're like, that's a little bit metallic-y and there's something funky with it. It kind of reminded me of that. And I think it might be because there's so much water in it, you are getting more of the flavor of whatever water they're using. I got like a little bit of a burnt sugar vibe. The vanilla's kind of there. There's a lot of baking spices, but it's kind of a bitter baking spices experience. It's not, I wouldn't say it's horrific. I overall feel like the vanilla and caramel were there. The burnt sugar was there. It gives it a little bit of flavor. I'm at a 6 out of 10 on the palate.
Like historically, we have not been huge Four Roses guys. And there are people out there that
swear by it.
Swear by Four Roses. There's people out there that swear by Wild Turkey. I mean, both of us, I think, have like one bottle in each of those lineups. Like I like Four Roses Small Batch Select. I like Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Pretty much the rest of the lineup, I'm iffy on in both of those brands. So sometimes a brand just doesn't vibe with your particular palate. And that's me with Four Roses. But when I look at this baseline offering and I get into the finish here, the only notes I made were, in the positive side, surprisingly long lasting. Like it really hung around. On the negative side, it didn't taste good. So like it was just, I said, unfortunately, it's bitter as hell.
Yeah. Fun fact, Bob. That's not a good thing when it doesn't taste good.
No. I mean, to be commended for how long it stuck around, not to be commended for how it tastes. I gave it a 5 out of 10 on the finish, Brad.
Man, I didn't have quite the experience that you did. It definitely got very oaky, lots of black pepper. The note that I took on the finish that I thought was interesting was that it was like Sour Patch Kids, but without sugar. Like just sour and a tiny bit fruity, but like nothing good to just like get rid of the bittery, soury flavor. So I give it a 6 out of 10 on the finish. I actually weirdly think balance wise that this is like a well-balanced whiskey. Like they get the things they're looking for. It's pretty consistent throughout. I will give it a 6.5 on balance, just for the fact that like you kind of know what you're getting into on the nose and it delivers.
I'm going to give it a 5.5. And my really, again, we are one of the most highly regarded whiskey reviewing sites in the world, Brad.
Obviously.
My notes on the balance were not great. 5.5. Wow. That's all I wrote down.
What a note, Bob.
Not great.
Yeah, and I think when it gets into value, we are looking in the state of Ohio to buy 750 milliliters of Four Roses bourbon to spend $24, which I would say is about $6 to $8 too much for what you're getting. With that being said, I'm at a 6 out of 10 on the value. It's really not a horrific budget bourbon. It's just that there's other stuff right around this price range that is a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 on value. And I think that's kind of splitting the difference between, there just aren't a lot of sub $20 bourbons anymore. And I think that if you're comparing this to Jack or Jim or whatever, Wild Turkey 80 proof, right? Like it's right in line with those market wise. Taste wise, I would buy regular Benchmark and enjoy that more than this. And that's going to be $6, $7 cheaper. Like that's a $15 bottle of whiskey. And I think it's significantly better than this. So, there is stuff out there for $20 and less that I think improve upon what you're getting here with Four Roses. So I'm at a 5 out of 10 on value. And Brad, that is bringing me out to a 28.5 out of 50. By far my lowest score in a long time here on Film and Whiskey.
Yeah. I'm coming out to a 31 out of 50. A 30 out of 50 is like a average, but maybe respectable score. It's not something I'm going to recommend. I think $5 at the bar is too much to pay for this.
Yeah. We're coming out to a 59.5 out of 100, or just a 29.75 out of 50 on average. This is going to get a thumbs down from me. Now, I will say, not to poo-poo the brand of Four Roses, we did like the small batch. Like, I don't think that it knocked my socks off. I would feel much better walking into somebody's house and them telling me, like, what do you think of this bottle I bought, if they pick up small batch for, $5 more than this one? This is just, frankly, I just don't think this is worth your money, folks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not. I think the small batch, now I will say, Bob, the small batch is $37. So you're looking at a little bit of a higher price there. I will say, I don't know if it's $15 better than this. It's at least $10 better than this.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So,
Brad, you know what doesn't let me down ever?
What's that, Bob?
The 1954 film Rear Window by Alfred Hitchcock.
What an experience.
What do you say we get back into talking about Rear Window?
Let's get to it.
All right, everybody. That was a whiskey that it does its job, Bob.
It is a workman-like whiskey. It's fine.
Yep. It does what it needs to do.
You know what's a hell of a lot better than just fine?
Dude, this movie does what it needs to do, but...
And then some.
And then some, that's right.
Well, Brad, we've got a couple weeks left in the season, but I just want to say, I love Two Facts and a Falsehood this season, man. This has been a ride. This has been an up and down, but mostly up situation for me. So I'm very excited to dive back in. Folks, it is time for our segment, which we call Two Facts and a Falsehood.
Brad is gonna try to stump you, Bob. Two are right and one is wrong. Two facts and a falsehood.
Two Facts and a Falsehood is the part of the podcast where Brad presents me with 3 items as fact about the making of this movie, one of which is a complete lie. And it's my job to figure out which one that is. Man, Brad, it's weird to think about, like, how our podcast developed over the seasons and things that we were like, let's just try this out. And then it became something that we did every week. Two Facts and a Falsehood didn't start till like season 6, probably
6 or 7. Yeah.
And I think about it now as if it's been around forever, but we didn't have this back in season 1.
Yeah. This is a shiny new toy pretty much.
We talk about season 1 like we grew up in the Dust Bowl. Like we were in the Great Depression. We didn't have these fancy things that we have now.
The sound quality sounds like it was
recorded in a Dust Bowl.
in the 1930s.
Oh man, did you revisit the season 1 episode on this?
No, I didn't.
Man, folks, first of all, we have taken down the season 1 audio feed from public channels, but we love our Patreon subscribers so much that we have left up every single season 1 episode on our Patreon. So quick plug for that. We would love for you to join us in our Patreon community. We have 3 different tiers that you can support us at each month. You get tons of bonus content. You get early access to all of our episodes. With most episodes, you even get longer cuts and sometimes unedited cuts of our episodes. But now you can check out our season 1 review of Rear Window to see where we both shook out to a 9.5. I gotta say, man, the content of that episode, excellent. Like, it was a really, really good episode, even if it sounded like it was recorded in the 1930s.
I mean, I was on the episode, so
I know.
Clearly, it's going to be great.
You have always been a boon to our podcast, Brad.
It wouldn't be much of a podcast without me, Bob.
All right, man. It's time for 2 facts and a falsehood, something we didn't have back then, but we do have now. Hit me with your 2 facts and a falsehood.
Fact number 1, production on the film ran about a week longer than expected when the fire hydrant on set exploded, leading to flooding in the apartment courtyard. Fact number 2, in the short story on which this movie was based, it is not revealed until the very final line of the book that the hero has a broken leg. Fact number 3, with the exception of the orchestral score in the very first few scenes of the movie, every bit of sound in this film is diegetic.
I think number 3 is true. So that leaves 1 and 2. I remember reading on the Wikipedia page for this movie that this set was absolutely massive and it had a huge drainage system involved because of the scene where they shot like the torrential downpour of rain. So I would imagine that if there was a huge drainage system in place, that a fire hydrant breaking would not halt production for that long. But, you know, we'll set that aside. Remind me, what was number 2 again, Brad?
The short story that it was based on, the hero is not revealed to have a broken leg until the very end.
That's interesting. I know nothing about the short story, but I think it'd be kind of weird to not reveal that till the end because, like, then he really is just a pervert. You know what I mean? Like, why doesn't he just go to work during the day? Why is he looking out his window all the time? So that immediately strikes me as suspicious too, but it's hard for me to pick that as the winner since I don't know the short story. I think I'm going to go with my gut and say that number 1 is the falsehood, Brad.
Robert Book, you are ending on a high note with a correct answer.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Nailed it.
Always helping me out. Through college, through grad school.
As much as it kind of ruins things, I really want to read the short story now.
Yeah,
because I don't know how you tell this story without revealing that the main character has a broken leg.
Do you think Hitchcock read this story and was like, through most of it, he was like, oh man, this guy's just as dirty as me. And then he saw that he had a broken leg and he was like,
son of
come on.
That's probably what happened.
All right, man, let's dive back into talking about the movie. We have not actually talked about the cast here. I think it's really funny because when you look at the poster for this movie, you know, I'm on the Wikipedia page. It says Jimmy Stewart, and then it's got Grace Kelly, Wendell Corey, Thelma Ritter. And I always forget about Wendell Corey, who plays like his detective friend in this movie, because I know Thelma Ritter. Like she's a very, even to this day, like she's a well-remembered character actress from this era. And I know Jimmy Stewart and I know Grace Kelly, but I have no idea who Wendell Corey is really outside of this film. And so I think maybe let's start there and kind of work our way up the cast list. Brad, what did you think of his detective friend? I don't even remember his name, so I'm calling him detective friend.
Meh.
Doyle. His name's Doyle.
Yes, Lieutenant Doyle. If there's a weak spot of this movie, I think it's Wendell Corey. And I don't think it's because of his performance. Like I think he turns in a fine performance for what they need him to do. The character is just so... Like, there's never any real doubt that Thorwald has killed his wife. Right?
Like, if you are in Jimmy Stewart's position, yes.
Yeah. And I just think that makes all of his protestations feel just kind of silly and like juvenile almost. And it just makes me not enjoy the character very much.
Yeah, it's a really hard character to play. And I don't, like you said, I don't think Wendell Corey does a bad job, but he proves at various points that he is both a really good detective and also completely wrong. You know what I mean? Like, he does the legwork. He always has like a final jab that he gives every time he goes to visit Jimmy Stewart. And Stewart's like, hey, I have this new evidence or this new eyewitness account for you. And he listens very patiently. And then he goes, hey, by the way, that suitcase you thought disappeared, it arrived and it was picked up by Mrs. Thorwald. We had guys check on it. Like, he's doing his job. He's doing the legwork. But it's undermined by the fact that, like, the end of the movie reveals it to be true that this guy did murder his wife exactly how Jimmy Stewart said so. So, like, you never really, like, you kind of trust him and you trust his ability to do his job, but you also are in the position of being with Jimmy Stewart all the time. Like, you see the suspiciousness of all this. And so there's only so much you can call the main character's, like, eyewitness account into question and also the audience's eyewitness account into question. And I feel like it kind of leaves Wendell Corey out on an island because, yeah, like, we want to discount his character altogether because he's the one thing standing in the way of justice at this point.
Well, and as an audience member, you'd have to be sitting here going, well, if Doyle is right and there's no murder, then what are we even doing here? And I think that's why I lean away from the, like, old pervert take on this movie. Because, like, if Hitchcock wanted to, he could have done it that way and been like, yeah, no, there was no murder. Jimmy Stewart's just a creep. And I think if he does that, this is not a 8.5 on IMDb. It's not a top, 100 film all time. Like, I think it falls off the list because it's antagonistic to the audience.
Right.
Whereas, like, the way it's filmed, it includes you in on the secret. Like, if anything, Doyle's character serves the purpose of, like, nobody else might believe you. Like, he represents the rest of the world. Nobody would believe you, but I'm in on the secret. I know what really happened here. And that makes you feel, like, important and like you know what's going on.
Brad, there is a cheat code to having fun supporting characters in the 1950s, and her name is Thelma Ritter. She makes everything she's in better, and this is no exception. She is just, like, Jimmy Stewart is kind of like a down-to-earth guy who's kind of an asshole, and Grace Kelly is she's in very high-moving circles, right? She moves through the cultural elite of New York. And then you got Thelma Ritter, who's just like, man, I bet the blood splattered everywhere, huh? Like, and everyone looks at her and goes, oh, come on. And she's like, well, we're all thinking it. And that's, it's crazy because she's the one character in the movie too, that gets all these, she gets to say explicitly what I didn't realize you could get away with saying in 1954. Like, bro, this movie got away with a lot because at the end of the movie, it is very clear that yes, my guy was dismembering his wife and carrying her out in sections in a suitcase. Like,
yep,
that is not something that we talked about as a nation in the 1950s.
No, I mean, it's like the, what's the Poe short story with the beating heart?
Oh, the Telltale Heart. Yeah.
Yeah. The Telltale Heart, man. That's literally that. But if he, like, transported her and you had Thelma Ritter going, yeah, her body's all over New York by now.
It always makes me curious because Hitchcock was dealing with, again, I don't mean to keep bringing up, like, the sexual stuff, but, like, he worked within the confines of censorship. Like, he never did anything that he wasn't allowed to do, but it was also very obvious all the time what his characters were actually talking about, right? And it's the same thing with murder and with the blood and guts, gory stuff that they're talking about here. It's like, I don't know if there were just certain words that you couldn't say explicitly, and so he just didn't say those words. But thematically, it's just like, how did they get away with saying some of the things they said in this movie? He must have had some dirt on the guys at the censorship board, because he always seemed to get away with this stuff.
I mean, I think it gives an insight into the censor board's priorities. That like they are much more concerned with what is seen over what is said. And like, yeah, you know, like the old saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and a moving picture is worth a heck of a lot more than that. So I think that they were way more worried about cleavage and scene dismemberment than talking about sex and talking about murder. It seems like for some reason they're very unworried with what people converse about.
Yeah, but then you also have that great sequence of Miss Torso dancing in a bathing suit and then turning around and pointing her butt at the camera and bending all the way over. And Stewart looks at his detective friend, and because the guy is like glued to her, and he's just like, "How's your wife doing?" It's just so funny, but it's also like, how did he get away with showing that? You know?
I'll go back to Wendell Corey for a second. That was some good acting, man. Because the way he pulls himself away, he was in full reverie mode.
Brad, I'm conflicted about Grace Kelly in this movie because she is, to be clear, excellent in this movie.
Yes.
I never quite buy her as the fun-loving girl trapped in a society body. But I also like this version of her a lot better than I liked the To Catch a Thief version of her. So it's like, she's one of those actresses that I don't know if we ever quite got like the levers tuned perfectly to her. You know what I mean? Like, I think she could have been the prototype for Audrey Hepburn, but like at this point we already had Audrey Hepburn. And so Grace Kelly was like, well, I need to be one step more refined than Audrey Hepburn. And so because of that, she always seems a little bit distant. And I think this movie does the best that it can to make her feel approachable. But even then, it's like she was a literal princess in real life. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I can never quite get my arms around Grace Kelly in a movie.
Well, the struggle for me is the fact that her and Jimmy Stewart are together at all. Like, and this kind of partially gets into the weirdness of old movies and old movie stars with young actresses, where that just feels awkward that they're together. And like, he talks about not being of marrying age, and I'm like, bro, you're like 53 in this movie. Like, if you're not marrying age, then I don't know what marrying age is.
Yeah, he was like only a couple years away from the broken leg not being believable because he should have had a broken hip instead. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. Yeah. And so I think that makes this a struggle for me. The other element of it is that he is so mean to her that it's really hard to believe that they've had this long, sustained dating relationship that has the foundation for him to be that mean, as he's like trying to drive her away. And, you know, maybe dating was just different in the 50s and men were just mean to women. That's not how I got my wife to fall in love with me. It's not how I've kept her in love with me. But who knows, man? Maybe the 50s were different. I think it's just her performance is great, but the way the characters interact, it can just be so brutal that I found myself being drawn out of the movie.
And it's weird, though. I think it says a lot about A, how likable Jimmy Stewart is as an actor, but B, how effective it is to make him the audience kind of stand-in. Because we should, if any character in this movie should turn us off, it should be Jimmy Stewart. Like, Grace Kelly is innocent on all charges in this movie. Like, she's the one being treated terribly. And yet you and I are here talking about, like, I didn't quite buy her, you know? But he's the one who's pushing her away. He's the one who doesn't get into her until she starts sharing in this voyeurism of his. Like, he's clearly the messed up one in this relationship.
It's not voyeurism, Bob. It's an adventure.
Okay, listen, I called it a perversion, and you said call it voyeurism. And then I call it voyeurism, and you're like, call it an adventure. It sounds like you're trying to justify something, my friend.
I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just trying to say that she doesn't get sucked into the voyeurism. She gets sucked into the mystery and adventure of it all.
I think she just figures out that she is as kinky as he is. And that's what we're dealing with here, Brad. Let's talk about Jimmy Stewart, though. You know, we've talked a lot about like Mount Rushmores of actors, and we've seen probably Jimmy Stewart's most famous performances at this point. We didn't review the Philadelphia Story, for which he won his Oscar. That would be up there on a Mount Rushmore, maybe just because it is his Oscar-winning movie. Maybe something from later in his career, like Anatomy of a Murder. But, you know, we've seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. We've seen this. We've seen Vertigo. I don't know, Brad, would you put this from a purely, like, importance to his career and quality of performance? Is this a Mount Rushmore movie for him?
Oh, man. I mean, I for me, like, It's a Wonderful Life has to be on there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't keep that off. Bob, I'm going to be honest with you. I think It's a Wonderful Life might be his best performance.
Yeah, for me, it's probably either that or Mr. Smith. He's so good at Mr. Smith.
Yep. Yeah, so for me, I think those are my top two for him.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing, man. Like, if I could make a comparison, and this wasn't going to be my Let's Make It a Double, but like, it's a good comparison point. This is kind of like watching Leo in Shutter Island for me. And I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, I actually think Shutter Island, pound for pound, might be my favorite DiCaprio performance of all time, because he was playing like tortured guy in 18 movies in a row there for a while. And Shutter Island's like a pure genre movie. It's also the movie that I buy him the most in as tortured guy. Like, you get the backstory of what made him this way, and I completely buy it in a way I don't with like The Departed. You know what I mean? And I think with this movie, it's not as showy and it's not as deep and it's not as nuanced as like Vertigo is for him. But this movie doesn't work unless Stewart understands the exact timing of every single one of these like suspense building scenes. When he picks up the phone and he thinks that it's Doyle calling him, and he says a couple words and then he realizes that on the other end of the phone is Thorwald, the killer, and you just see his face sink. It's the first time you're like, oh, this guy is screwed. Like, what's going to happen now? And so I think it's kind of an unsung performance, but it doesn't work unless Stewart is like at an A+ level.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything you're saying, Bob. He does such a great job of drawing your attention into the things that matter most. And when the tension is ratcheted up, man, it hits 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Like when Grace Kelly is getting captured and he like puts his hand to his mouth almost like instinctively, like you can feel the horror on his face and in his eyes that transports you there into the room with him. Mm-hmm. And it's just, what a great performance, man.
He's such a good actor, man. Like, and again, I feel like sometimes with old movies, you know, they acted in a certain style. A lot of these people had that transatlantic accent, and there was a very affected sort of...
Don't you come after my boy Cary Grant.
...kind of hamminess to the way people played movies back then. Jimmy Stewart, yes, he acted like a person acting in the 1950s acted, but the range is incredible. I don't think he gets enough credit for how dark he was willing to go. His collaborations with Hitchcock, man, between this and Vertigo, it's like my guy was really undermining his own public persona to plumb the depths of some weird stuff with Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, I mean, even in Rope, he's supposedly playing this like left-wing liberal, you know, the Ubermensch can kill anybody he wants to person, and he like retracts it at the end. But like, yeah, Hitchcock definitely takes him into some arenas that you would not expect out of a very popular actor in the 40s and 50s.
Mm-hmm. All right, Brad, I don't mean to make you pick between our two babies here in Vertigo and Rear Window. I've been trying to think of a way to describe today. And, you know, my burger analogy, admittedly, was a pretty good analogy.
That's a good one.
How does that not come across as condescending, though? Because, like, I think you know what I'm trying to get at. Like, I know why people don't like Vertigo. I know that it is not, like, as immediately satisfying as Rear Window. And I don't want to, like, I never want to make someone feel like I'm condescending to them and being like, you just don't understand it, bro. But I also don't want to make it sound like I'm I'm saying that Rear Window is a lesser movie than Vertigo. I think they're two very different kinds of movies. And I kind of want you, Brad, as like our resident man on the street to be like, explain to me how you would describe why is Rear Window so much more immediately satisfying than Vertigo, and how would you kind of pitch both of these movies to someone who hasn't seen them yet?
I mean, at the end of the day, Bob, like, Rear Window is under 2 hours. Like, hour 45, hour 50-minute movie. You have Grace Kelly, which is an immediately available name to anybody watching movies. And, like, all you have to do is describe the plot, and I think people are immediately hooked. Like, man with broken leg is creeping on his neighbors and thinks he witnesses a murder. Everybody, we talk about this with action movies. Everybody knows the geography of that movie, like relationally and emotionally. They know what they're in for. Vertigo is a whole new level. Like, there's layers upon layers of gaslighting, and the pacing of the movie is so much slower. What you're trying to get away from, this, comparison, and one feels more snooty to enjoy, Bob, just embrace it, man. like Vertigo is a snootier movie to enjoy. Like, the common person, the average person, just isn't gonna like that movie as much. And that doesn't say anything bad about the average person, and it doesn't say anything good about the cinephile. It just shows that some people have spent a lot more time watching movies than others.
Yeah.
And, like, that's okay. Like, you can't expect me to go out onto the pitcher's mound and throw a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, right? Like, I haven't put the time in. I don't have the genetics. It's just not quite there. And so I don't know why there's always this heated argument among movie fans on who the real movie fan is. The person who can watch a French foreign film with, no non-diegetic music, and it's just all this, Amour, whatever. Who directed Amour?
Oh yeah, Michael Haneke. Yeah.
Yeah, just because I don't like Hanukkah films, that sounds bad.
I get just because point taken, though. Yeah,
you get where I'm going.
But I think what I'm trying to say is, like, it's actually the opposite for me as a guy who's like, the cinephile, whatever, of the group here, is like, I don't want people to think I'm snooty, and I also think that there is this deep running emotion among the general public. Film critics only watch 3-hour Danish movies. You know what? Maybe that is true, but like, every now and then you come across a 3-hour Danish movie that's like, oh man, the average person would like this 3-hour Danish movie. And you get to a point where it's like, RRR, a movie from India, is worth watching. How do I tell somebody that, like, Anatomy of a Fall, a French film, set in a courtroom, is super compelling to watch and moves at a breakneck pace. And I think that,
like Paths of Glory?
Yeah, like Vertigo is not a fast-moving film, but I also don't think that you have to have a doctoral degree to understand what's going on in that movie. It just requires a little bit more. You got to marinate on that movie more, and I don't think you have to marinate on this one as much. This is much more like, Jurassic Park plays with ideas of man becoming God or trying to become God, but like, at the end of the day, you can go see Jurassic Park, and you're more enthralled by the roller coaster ride. You can have a fun time at the movies being scared and then leave on a high and go get dinner. And I think that Rear Window's like that. Vertigo is much more like, I watched this movie, it kind of like effed me up a little bit, and 3 days later, it's still lingering in my head and I'm a little disturbed. And like, I think that's the beauty of that movie. They're just trying to do two different things. And I think that's what's great about movies, is like, they don't all have to accomplish their purpose the exact same way.
Bob, do you remember the film critic in the Birdman?
Yeah, the theater critic, right?
The theater critic in Birdman. Yeah. The key thing about that critic is that they are cold and they are mean.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like, if you boil it down.
Yep.
I think all it takes for you not to be snooty is just to be enthusiastic and kind.
Generous. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you invite somebody into a film, you know, I like that we're getting into a psychotherapy here. It's appropriate
I am
for,
on your couch.
for a Hitchcock film.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that if you want to not be snooty, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying that you ever are, although you are.
Yeah, sure.
What I am saying is, I think that what turns people off about snooty cinephiles is the condescension of like, well, you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't understand. And like, if you didn't like this, it means that your palate, your taste, your life experience that has led you to this point isn't good enough to enjoy this film.
Right.
When all you need to do is be enthusiastic about the film and kind about how people take it.
100%.
Whether they love it or whether they hated it.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, that's what I want to be, is like, I think that anyone should feel qualified to watch any movie at any time. Like, don't ever let anybody talk down to you and tell you, oh, you know what, Rear Window is probably more your speed. I don't know if you're ready for Vertigo yet. Like, F that. Go watch Vertigo if you want to. Now, like, yeah, at the end of the day, maybe you haven't seen enough old movies to appreciate the pace of that. Or maybe you haven't thought deeply about, like, the psychology of that movie to appreciate it. I'd rather you come back to me and say, like, hey, I watched Rear Window and Vertigo. I liked Rear Window a lot more. I don't know if Vertigo was quite my bag. Then to feel like I'm telling you you can't or shouldn't watch Vertigo because you're not sophisticated enough. Like, at the end of the day, we're talking about a Hollywood movie made by Alfred Hitchcock. Like, it's not an inaccessible movie, and no one should ever feel like a movie is off limits to them.
Yeah. I mean, look at 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, universally regarded as a top 5 film of all time by almost all critics in the world. That movie sucks, bro.
I did not like that film. I still don't. It was on Turner Classic Movies like a month ago. I tried it again. I don't know why I keep doing it. It's just, it's not for me. Well made, not a great movie.
One day, you will be the baby in space.
I'll be the old man
you'll
pointing.
Understand.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. All right, man, let's give this movie... Oh, you know what? No, let's not give this movie a final scores, because we still have to get to our last segment of the day, which we call Let's Make It a Double.
We're near the end of the episode, so thanks for listening to the Film and Whiskey Show. Let's pair another film with this one, even if it's a struggle. It's our final segment of the day, now let's make it a double.
Let's Make It a Double is the part of the show where we pick a movie to pair up with this one to make the perfect double feature. Brad, I think I will go with Shutter Island on this, the more I think about it.
Look at you.
I think that they are both... Like, Shutter Island is much more of a downer than this movie is, but... It is really
super sad.
Really, really fun to watch masters of the craft in Hitchcock and Scorsese just completely go full genre mode. Like, I am just going to make in you know, Scorsese's case a psychological thriller, in this case a suspense murder film, and like they just do that, and because they're so good at making movies, it's like the platonic ideal of that kind of movie. And sometimes that's all you need.
Well, and you got all-star actors at the top of their game in both films for their eras. Yeah, I can imagine a very fun evening. I personally would watch Shutter Island first. I would like to end with a little bit more of an upper in Rear Window. Bob, I think I'm going to pick my Let's Make It a Double based purely on two things: the visuals of this film and the location of this film. I'm going to pair this because as I was watching it, all I could think about was how bright the courtyard was and how many colors you could see on screen. And I know you know where I'm going right now, Bob. I'm pairing this with West Side Story.
One of my all-time favorites, Brad. Great pairing.
Nothing makes sense about that pairing. But if you were to watch them back to back, I think that like the picture of what you're seeing on the screen of New York City would just feel seamless. Like they both feel like they exist in the exact same world.
Also notably a downer of a movie.
Yes, with weird sexual stuff going on as well.
Yeah, man, this really is a perfect pairing.
Maybe it is a perfect pairing.
All right, so I picked Shutter Island. Brad picks the original West Side Story. it's time for us to give this movie final scores, and I don't think we have to waste much time here, Brad. This is a 10 out of 10.
7.5.
10 out of 10 movie. Here's my question for you. Like, do you think we undervalue this movie sometimes because it's not the quote-unquote deep movie? Like, do you think sometimes we just downplay perfectly made genre movies at the expense of, like, it didn't feel important enough?
Yes, I think we do. I think that the reason, and we talk about this, like there's so many movies. A few seasons back, we did Armageddon, right? And I think you gave it like a 7.5. I gave it like an 8, 8.5 maybe. And I said, like, this is the highest rated this film could be, right? With the limitations placed upon it. And I think that the limitations placed upon this movie are one of the greatest directors of all time and one of the greatest actors of all time and an actress who became a literal princess. Like, so the limitation on this film is a 10 out of 10. Is that a fair comparison?
I think so, man. And again, I keep going back to my Shutter Island thing. My hottest take on Shutter Island is that I would rather watch that movie than most of what Scorsese made after it. Like, I think Silence is really good. But then The Irishman and Killers of the Flower Moon, which are both considered like Scorsese masterpieces and nominated for Best Picture, I think Shutter Island's a better movie than both of them for this exact reason. Like, it is a 10 out of 10 in terms of what that film could have. It's the best version of that movie. Whereas I think both The Irishman and Killers of the Flower Moon could have both been better. Like, whether they're more important is irrelevant in this conversation. It's a perfectly made movie, Brad.
Marty, you hear him coming for you. We invite you onto the podcast to defend your films.
And hear us praise your other film.
Yes.
All right, so it's 10s across the board from Film and Whiskey, but we want to know what you think. You can find us on all of our social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at Film Whiskey.
Or you can jump onto our Discord. We are on there every single day talking to you guys, fans of the Film and Whiskey podcast. So if you'd like to join the conversation, you can find a link to the Discord at the end of every single one of our show notes.
Next week, we're back with our first listener pick. And Brad, I don't know what it is yet. So tune in for a surprise next week. But until then, I'm Bob Book.
I'm Brad G.
And we'll see you next time.